The views and opinions expressed by the guests, callers, and hosts on this and all Rense Radio Network programs do not necessarily reflect or agree with those of the network, its commercial sponsors, its radio station affiliates, or internet broadcast platforms. In these controversial times, we believe the First Amendment and freedom of the press are absolutely essential to the survival of our nation. Thank you. And now, enjoy the program.
Welcome back. It's a hot one out here in the West. It's supposed to be 107 tomorrow, which is too hot too early. I don't know where you are, and hopefully it's not that hot. We're going to go back to the beautiful historic town, and if there's ever another constitutional convention, they may not have the facilities for it, but it really ought to be held in Kingston, New York. And I can name one man who I'd like to see named as the presiding officer of such an event, the Speaker of the House, so to speak, Mr. Gerald Celente. Welcome back, Gerald. Thanks for being here on this Monday.
Thanks for having me. Always great being on with you, Jeff.
I was wondering about the weather back there, but we have lots of other news. Let me just touch on this Ukraine situation. As I think most of you know, Vladimir Putin has been under a tremendous amount of pressure, shall we say, from literally around the world to do something to stop the slaughter, the genocide, and we have more than one genocide going on, that's for sure right now, in eastern Ukraine. The Ukrainian military, hardly inept, but they did manage to lob a couple of artillery shells into Russia, killed one man, a father of four, blew his arm off, he was dead on the porch, injured two others, and the Russians said there would be repercussions. Well, today, a Ukrainian Air Force transport plane, an A-26, was shot down over Lugansk. The crew of four managed to parachute out, were captured by separatist fighters. Plane crashed. Ukraine is screaming bloody murder, which is kind of hilarious because of what they've been doing lately. And then we look a little further south of the map, so to speak, and we see what's going on in Gaza. Now, for sure, the entire world is disgusted. I don't have words for what's going on, but remember, folks, this isn't the first time. They did this in 2009 to the Palestinians. Remember the white phosphorus? They're using other kinds of weapons as well. And let me ask you the punchline question, then I'll shut up. Where do you think the Israelis got those bombs and munitions? And who, as a follow-up question, do you think paid for them? Think about it. All right, sir, the floor is yours.
You know, on Ukraine, I have to tell you, I'm a bit, you know, each weekday night we do Trends in the News.
Yeah.
And I've been asking the question, where's Putin? And he had said early on when the Ukraine situation was really spinning out of control back at the end of 2013 and around during the Olympics in February of 2014, that he would protect the Russian people.
He said it again 3 weeks ago, Gerald. I had the quote.
And nothing has happened. So
no.
I have to I have to, it always goes back to me about money. And who knows what's going on behind the scenes and what deals are being made. And so, because it's out of control over there, and as we had written, as it was happening, it would devolve into a civil war. And basically, there's no end in sight.
No.
And these people are not going to fold up and say, okay, you can take over and run our lives. And again, the people that are in power in Kiev are, by all accounts, they're basically neo-Nazis, a good portion of them. So
they're thugs,
the
they're punks, they're sock puppets, they're billionaire. I won't use the word. They're just scum.
Oh yeah, the billionaire Poroshenko, of course.
Yeah.
And and again, by the way, if you look at his history, he goes with who's ever in power. This guy, he's played the game since the breakup of the former Soviet Union.
Yep.
So he's not. Again, it goes back to money, and then going on to the atrocity in what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians. The news I came up with a line today in Trends in the News. Our clothing, our consumer goods are made in China. Our news is made in Israel. I watch the mainstream news, and it is disgusting.
It's embarrassing.
Every time, you know who the Israelis are bombing. Well, they killed about over 200 Palestinians already, and thousands of others wounded.
They killed over 800 in 2009, by the way. Over 800.
Yeah, well, they'll get up there. They'll give them a couple more weeks.
There you go.
And you know who they're killing.
Of course.
They're bombing Hamas militants.
Oh, sure.
But they're always militants.
It's amazing how those 5-year-old kids can be militants.
Any side that the United States is against is a militant.
Absolutely.
Or a terrorist. Yeah. Matter of fact, what's going on in Ukraine, the Ukrainian government is claiming that they're killing Eastern Russian militant / terrorists. The terrorists. So they throw these labels on.
Insurgents.
Now, where's all the outrage about what's going on over there with, as you point out, our money going to mass murder? Well, I'm going to tell you something, Jeff. The way this is going, the Palestinians may become something like, that Indian tribe that nobody ever heard of anymore because they were all wiped out.
Wounded Knee.
And that they're on the verge of extinction.
You got it. I do believe that's what this is the beginning of the final push to genocide those people physically or literally out of Gaza and out of Greater Israel and into Jordan or northern Egypt. I think they're going to go into Gaza. There's a very good chance, literally with their vaunted bulldozers, and level essentially the whole city. And the people will have nowhere to go, and they will be forced to march and walk out of there. I think that's a possibility. They want them out.
Yeah, I really do. I can see, again, when you think back of all of those names that no longer exist.
That's right.
Of all the tribes
60
that was
million
for
of them.
example, right in this country.
Yep. 60 million.
So I could really see something like that happening.
I think that's the plan. Avigdor Lieberman is a maniac. Netanyahu is right there, cheek by jowl with him. These people are killers. Did you see the story about the Facebook exultation that the Israelis, not all Israelis, but many of the reactionary right-wing Israelis are spewing on Facebook and Twitter? They're talking about how they're having orgasms when the little children are being blown to pieces. It's sick. These people are not normal humans.
You can pick up any paper, and they will all talk about the rockets that are flying into Israel.
Yeah.
We had a bigger 4th of July demonstration over here in Kingston than the size of these rockets. And nobody's been killed. These are bottle rockets. You fight back with anything that you have. Meanwhile, they're dropping tons of explosives all over Gaza. And it's being, and then again, you see the ones from ABC, where they're talking about the bombings going on in Israel, and Fox, and they're saying militants strike Israel, and they're showing photos of Palestinians and Gaza and making it look like it's Israel.
They got caught,
I mean,
too.
Goebbels, this is Goebbels grade propaganda, and they're getting away with it.
Yep. One time.
And most of the Americans, you know, they make you hate Muslims and Islam really easily.
That's true.
And that's where the Americans' minds don't go any further than that.
I was going to talk a little later about the quality of the American mind. We'll get to that. I think you're more than 100% correct. The American mind really stops and starts with talking heads on CNN and Fox, or Hannity, or O'Reilly, or any of the other idiots out there. That's where most people get their what they think is news. The BBC is being slammed for its obvious bias. But what's going on over there is more depleted uranium, advanced weapons that are illegal under international charter that are being used on these people. And I really do believe this is going to be the final push to level Gaza and force them out of there. We'll see soon enough. Let's go ahead through this break, Scott, Todd, and turn me up a little bit to Gerald, if you would. This really bothers me. Anyone with a soul or a heart cannot look at this and not be moved. Even if the coverage is slanted, they know they can read numbers, and they've got to understand that what's going on there is being done essentially out of their wallets, and by their silence, by our silence, we allow. And we're allowing this administration to support those killers, and that's what they are. And there are a lot of Israelis who don't approve of this. We got to remember them too. But this is genocide, the same thing as in Ukraine. Another thing about Ukraine, but while we bounce back and forth between these two horrible situations, the city of Slavyansk, which I believe has a population of a little over 100,000, fell to the Ukraine military, which is mostly mercenary. These are outsiders, special forces people. And you know what happened the day after Slavyansk fell, folks? Do you remember? Nobody talks about it. All the men in the city, ages 21 to 35, were rounded up and taken out of the city in trucks. They were taken to camps called processing camps. We may never see those people again. Remember Katian Forest? Remember the mass murders of ISIS in Iraq? This is ugly stuff, folks. And Putin has an 11th hour chance to come in and save his reputation. Because 3 times, as Gerald pointed out, 3 times Vladimir Putin promised that we will not allow military action to be taken against Russian-speaking peoples or Russian peoples in the east of Ukraine. We will not allow it. And 3 times he has broken that vow. Sergei Lavrov made the same statement. So that's 4 statements now, going back just before the first of the year. And the most recent, 3 weeks ago. We will see. If Putin moves into Ukraine, in my view, Gerald, the world will applaud. He will have nothing to worry about. There will not be World War III if he moves in there and sections that country off. The slaughter has been clear. The justification is all there.
Yeah, what I think will happen is that when you say the world, we're led to believe that the world is the United States and Europe. If you go to websites such as the People's Daily, Global Times, and other Chinese
the Straits Times, any of them.
Yeah,
sure.
They hardly mention what's going on in Ukraine or between Israel and Palestine. So the news that we're going to get is going to be trumped up in any event. And again, when they say that the world is basically a couple of countries out of NATO and the United States. The rest of the world really doesn't care that much about it. And so, but I really think there's something else going on behind the scenes that has to do with dollars, you know?
Always.
And it always comes down to that at the bottom line.
Ukraine owes Gazprom right now $5.8 billion in back payments on natural gas. Gazprom demanded payment in advance, and they didn't get it. So I guess that bill is just going to hang around. So there is money there. This is a situation that you're correctly pointing to as being obviously multi-layered. We're not going to know what's really going on. Was a decision made by Putin to go ahead and sacrifice the east of Ukraine? Now, remember what we did in Iraq, folks? No-fly zone. Remember, for 8 years during the Clinton administration primarily? 8 years of no-fly. Well, no-fly translated to continual air-to-ground attacks on Iraqi military, air defense positions. It never stopped. We were continually attacking Iraq during those 8 years, which cost the lives of over 1 million people. Vladimir Putin could have easily said, no-fly zone from the Dnieper River east in Ukraine. Anything that flies will be shot down. He could have done it without flying a single aircraft from Russia. He could have done it flying out of Crimea. They have 4 or 5 air bases there. He didn't have to send any ground troops in. And had he stopped the aerial combat, the separatists would not have lost Slavyansk. This is really something, you're right. That's what makes me think that there's been some kind of a deal made, and I can't imagine what, but I don't like it.
Yeah, something's not right. And again, it's out of the news. And also, what the news on the economic front has been very interesting of late.
Yeah, please bring us up to date on that.
You just saw what happened with Citigroup. They just got fined, $7 billion for doing dirty deals, packaging securities that were leading up to the panic of '08, knowing that they were fraudulent securities and they were going to dive, as with Goldman Sachs, and they were betting against them. So no heads once again rolled. It equals about 1% of their assets. They're worth well over $100 billion. So this is a slap on the wrist. And no heads roll. But we had up in Saugerties, just north of us here, they had a concert this past week. And they had another one several weeks ago, and the state troopers are out with roadblocks, and they're busting kids for, having possession of marijuana or whatever. And meanwhile, these tough cops who bust everybody's chops, really intimidate everyone, they don't have the cojones to go after the big guys. As a matter of fact, you know what they do to the big guys? They salute them. I see it. They salute them. And but yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. But us, boy, do they get tough with us.
Yeah.
So now these cops that are busting everybody's chops, making sure they meet their quotas so that they could get their pensions and keep their jobs, they let the big guys get away with murder. They let the big guys rob the country blind. They let the big guys throw people out of their homes. As a matter of fact, they become the enforcers for the crime bosses. And one of the major stories, the TrendsJournal is going out tomorrow. It's called Cops Gone Wild. And it's the militarization of the United States police force, and it's authored by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts.
Now, Craig's been writing.
For those of you who don't know him,
yeah.
Yep, he's the former Assistant Treasury Secretary under Ronald Reagan, and world renowned for his work. As a matter of fact, there is no one I respect greater for geopolitical and economic insights and observations than Dr. Paul Craig Roberts. And by the way, what he has done in following the Ukraine crisis and how it was set up by the United States, how they installed the puppet government, no one has done it in more detail and more accuracy that I see than Dr. Paul Craig Roberts. And his website is paulcraigroberts.org.
Well, I concur with the accolades 100%. The man is an extraordinary voice of truth, and having come from the government makes it doubly so. And I wish we had more Paul Craig Roberts. We've got Gerald Celente. We've got a handful of real frontline, honest-to-God American patriots who have the ability to project into the alternative and even to the fringes of the mainstream media. You get on the mainstream all the time. How's that been going?
Well, I used to. I used to. No, they don't have me on anymore now.
Oh, really?
No, I haven't been. I haven't been asked on in the last several months, and so it's not surprising to me. And guess what? What show would I go on? I wouldn't want to be with any of these guys, Hannity, O'Reilly.
I used to wonder about that.
Really, I don't want to go on with these guys.
I wondered how you stomached some of the stuff I saw, but...
no, I'm not going to do that, So, and there's a number of people that have asked me on that I say no. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm not going to do that. Oh, matter of fact, I also want to bring you an update on the Zidzi and Honey Boy movie.
Oh, good.
Last Wednesday, Doris Roberts, of course, for those of you who watch television, she was the Mother Marie on Everyone Loves Raymond, and she's playing Zidzi. So I met her on Wednesday. We spent several hours together. We went to one of the last Italian places in Corona, New York. It's in Queens. Goodbye, Rosie, Queen of Corona. Remember that one?
Cute.
Me and Julio down by the schoolyard. We went to Tony's. It's a treasure, right in the middle of everything down there. So
just you and her?
Spent time. Her and I, and the people that are are putting it together. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that arranged it. It's an independent movie. We have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
They finished shooting it, and they called me up today, and they said that it went greater than they ever could have, and she was just, she's 85 years old. You know what happened? I'm showing her photographs of my family. May they all rest in peace. What Zizzy looked like as a young girl and older, and the whole Italian family on a Christmas Eve, like in 1950. And I'm showing these photos, and all of a sudden I welled up in tears. Yeah. And and I said to her, I wouldn't be me without the ancestors. All I am are pieces of them, and they gave me so much. And I started telling her about, my Uncle Mario, who he had this dog Pepe, and he used to sing in Pepe's ear, Old Sole Mio, and Pepe used to bang on this little wooden piano and howl out Old Sole Mio. I mean, it was one character after another. And she looked at me and she said to me, "You're so fortunate to have such a great family." And where I am in my life, Jeff, every day I thank the ancestors. As the motto of the TrendsJournal, think for yourself. So I'm not telling people what to think. But as far as I see it, I'm just pieces of their DNA. And I'm me because of them. Every one of them gave me so much love and affection and wisdom.
And you just said a volume in 1.5 minutes of important material that our younger people don't even think about. They don't bless their ancestors. They don't even think about their ancestors, their grandparents. We got to go to grandma's house. Look, you just said something that is intrinsically important to understanding what has happened to our society. We've forgotten our roots and our heritage. And what made you who you are makes all great men and women something very special. And that was really nice to hear. Thank you for that. We'll be right back. Hold on. And for all of you who are Italian and grew up with that, I think you'll understand the connection to ancestry. The song that's been around for, what, Gerald, 120, 30 years? I don't know how long ago. And these are timeless melodies, and our young people today, they don't, there's no beat. They can't listen to it. I played the last stanza of O Sole Mio because I wanted to try to point out that for us Italians, and there are so many others out there who have the Irish, they'll have Danny Boy and all that. These are songs of our past. These are our ancestors. Through these songs, these melodies, which are in some cases, O Sole Mio has to be 125 years old now, are echoes of what we are and why we are today. And most young people today don't think past back, well, we got to go to grandma's again, that kind of stuff. They don't have it. And when you were a kid, you had a sense of lineage, of heritage, and that's the old world. That's the way it used to be. I don't know what these young people are going to be like.
Well, there's a reason for it, that why they have no appreciation. And the reason is that all of a sudden it was made up how special and amazing little children are.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have I heard, oh, my daughter's son, oh, they're special, they're amazing. I used to hear this until I wanted to throw up.
Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah, would they split the atom,
You know what? Here, get this. Now, I think you caught this one. Remember the term came up about 4 or 5 years ago? Indigo children. Yes, I have an indigo child. An indigo child was a special, cosmically gifted child, almost an E.T. hybrid, all right? An indigo child. I'm not kidding you. There was a handle for that. And every child you met was an indigo child. So my child's an indigo child.
Well, you see, that's why there's no respect for the elders, because they blew the smoke up them and told them how great they are.
Thank you very much. You got it nailed as usual. You can't do that to a child. You've got to teach them humility, that they're not some special gifted class of incredibly enlightened cosmic beings. Come on.
I was talking to my CEO today. His name is Gerald Celente, and he's an icon in the publishing world of newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
He was the executive editor of Gannett News. I mean, this guy's really a top guy.
Mm-hmm. And
anyway, there was this fellow that's interested in doing some stuff with us, and I said to him, well, he's around 32 years old, so he's just in that space over there. We started talking. And I said to him, 32 is just about when I started to grow up. And he laughed. And he said, yeah, me too. As you go through life, there's anybody that's been around a while, you go through these stages. There's puberty, there's teens, there's young adulthood.
Yep.
And so this
chapters
myth,
in a book.
What?
They're like chapters in a book.
Like chapters in a book. And this myth of how smart the kids are today, I don't want to hear another word of it. As a matter of fact, I had a dear friend that got angry at me because I said to a friend of theirs, I was listening to music, and it was Duke Ellington on. And I said, this is what music used to be like. I said, not that crap today. And she said, well, my son doesn't think it's crap. I said, how old's your son? Oh, he's 18. I could give a flying F what your son thinks.
Whoa.
I said, how dare you put your son into my category of I should go down to your son's level.
Oh, my God.
And so she became angry at me for talking to her like that, but it was okay for the friend to tell me off that I didn't understand kids and that I'm stupid and I don't understand the music. I understand it perfectly well. It stinks. It's all synthesized crap. Oh, by the way, one of the stories in the Trends Journal, you'll love this one. It's about the art murderers, the people that have murdered art in the names of the Andy Warhols and all the other phonies. It's done by Eugene Gregan, Gregan, a former professor at RISD, Yale, and a real artist.
Wonderful.
And I've had enough of this. I had enough of the garbage.
Yeah.
It's like calling fast food food.
That's a perfect analogy. It's just as toxic, to the soul and to the mind as that fast food is to your body. It's total garbage. When I saw Andy Warhol painting a Campbell's soup, tomato soup, I don't remember what it was, and people hailing it as great art, I knew we were in deep trouble. And it only went down from there. I'll look forward to that article very much. Stand by. We have to take a little short time out. We'll come right back. But an hour a month with him, and it goes by too quickly. This whole thing of our young people is a real bother. There's a story I read today. A restaurant found in the 1970s. There's a video, just a scene of their dining room, and they recently did the same thing. They recorded their dining room for an evening, and they watched, and they timed when the customers came in. They timed how the customers were seated, how long they watched the menus and looked at the menus and made their decisions and ordered, and when they did the whole thing. It was very smart. They had this video from the 70s, and they could compare. And what they found was staggering. I'll get the story and send it to you.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah, it's amazing. The average patron in the 70s spent, I think it was 1 hour and 10 minutes or something like that at the table, and wonderful dinner, and decorum and all that was followed, and they enjoyed themselves. Now it was almost 2 hours. The majority of the experience was dominated by smartphone activity. Texting, talking, taking group pictures, taking selfies, asking the waiter to take selfies, sending the food back because it got cold because they were farting around with their smartphones for so long. Rude. 18 out of, 50 patrons asked to have their table changed. And in the 70s, it was like 1/5 of that. Hardly anyone asked. They came in, they sat down, they did. Now these people are so spoiled. Oh, we want to sit over there. I'll send you the article. It'll blow your mind.
And let me tell you what the cover story of the TrendsJournal is. And again, it'll be out tomorrow. Don't blame Obamacare. Blame I don't care.
Oh, God. Another great one.
And what we're doing is we're going over of what it used to be and what it is. And then we go the then and the now. And here's the now. About, I'll give you one of them. Back in the early 70s, as a young executive jetting across the nation on business trips, passengers dressed up for the occasion. And then friends we have in those pre-Gestapo, frisk, rope, body scan, X-ray days when flying was still fun, first class meant it, and coach wasn't steerage. And as a young man, I quickly learned that fine dining establishments required fine dressing. No suit or sport jacket meant no seating. More than just superb cuisine, so too was the service and atmosphere. Elegance, grace, quiet voices from patrons whose conversations rarely left the confines of their table, and soft music that stayed in the background. So that was the then. And now the now is, of course, it's a very different place, Fine dining, unquestionably, on many gastronomical levels, restaurant cuisine has reached new heights. But so, too, have the ear-splitting decibel levels from boisterous patrons who have no concern for and are oblivious to others, and restaurants that blast out music from cranked-up sound systems. So we keep going on, how things have gone down.
I'm just sending this off to you now because it echoes perfectly. Restaurant watches video footage on customers and uncovers shocking truths. This is a popular New York City restaurant hired a firm to investigate why their customers started complaining about slow service at their restaurant when they actually have increased staff in recent years. And they posted their findings to Craigslist, and they were more than revealing. I won't go through the story, but I'll it's up now, and you'll find it, folks, and I'll rerun it tonight. This is important. This really tells you how far we have fallen in terms of social courtesy, decorum. It was like in the theaters. They now have to play 2 or 3 little trailer clips to tell these morons to turn their smartphones off. And as soon as the movie's over, they light right back up again. And remember the signs on restaurants? Another sign. You knew you were in trouble when restaurants had to post, no shoes, no service.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. No, so that's what we did with this whole with the beginning of the TrendsJournal. It's, don't blame Obamacare, blame I don't care. And we go on from, how in the old days with the hometown department stores and the Main Street dress shops and haberdashers that were locally owned and tastefully decorated. Now look what they've gone to. They're bottom line driven cookie cutter national chains.
You know what's
cold, tasteless, big box outlets. It's like shopping in a big self-storage unit. So it goes back,
Oh, that's
Jeff.
great. What a great line. Another one.
It goes back to the younger people have no point of reference. So they have a bad attitude without ever knowing what was. Because in their whole lives, what was is now. When we were kids, there were no Home Depots, there were no CVS's, there were no Staples. All those stores and drug stores and hardware stores and stationery stores were locally owned. And the same with small department stores in every community. So they have no point of reference, but what they do have is a real bad attitude and telling you what the jive is, and they don't have a clue. Hipsters ain't hip, man. How many more plaid shirts and dungarees do they have to put on to get it? And now they're calling wearing colored sneakers hip. Save it for the rookies, man.
Unreal.
A major story in the toilet paper, the paper of record, the Financial Times, in their style section about all of these great designers who are now pumping the baloney that putting on a suit with sneakers is in style. And then you read it, and you say, well, I've been wearing sneakers. No, kid, you've been wearing sneakers all your life. You're only a kid, and that's all you know. Sneakers are not hip, Jack. They're sneakers.
But most young people don't even know to call them sneakers anymore.
Yeah, it's called a rubber-soled revolution. That's what the toilet paper called it, 12 June 2014.
Wow.
Navy blazer, olive slacks, and brightly colored sneakers. That's what the experts now call classy. And what I'm saying is everything has gone down. And before we run out of time, I got to tell you, it's really got me among the other things that we did on Trends in the News. This Eric Holder, the Attorney General who sold out this country, he's trying to claim that people are down on the Obama administration, him and immigration, and what they're doing because of race. What a race-bait piece of crap.
Oh, man.
Can't you call a crook, a piece of junk, slime, and anything else? It's like if you say anything bad about the Jews, you're anti-Semite. If there's anything bad about the blacks, you're racist. Well, let me tell you this, and I want to make this really clear. I am sick of seeing mafia sopranos being put out by Hollywood. If they're going to do the Sopranos, I want to see the black people being criminal gangsters too, and I want them stereotyped. I want to see the Jewish stereotype. Yeah, let's do all Jewish crooks if you're going to do Italian mafia. I've had it. I've had enough of this race-baiting crap, and I'm tired of being called an anti-Semite for Israelis slaughtering innocent people. But it only goes one way in this country, and now it goes where they're calling people racist for condemning the atrocities being committed by this administration.
And they are. endless atrocities.
How about some drone strikes on innocent people? How about Libya, the destruction of a sovereign nation? How about the robbing of our constitutional rights? One after another. And this clown, this little boy, has the nerve to call people that condemn their actions racist? It's disgusting. And again, I'm tired of the mafia crap. I want to see do the same thing to the Jews, do the same thing to the blacks, and then put out the Sopranos and this other garbage mafia crap. No one else could get away with this. We're the easy target. Show me another one. Call me wrong.
Don't forget the Mexican gangs, the Asian gangs. We got all sorts of material, Hollywood.
No, we're all a bunch of cafons. Hey, Jeff, hey.
That's
yeah,
right.
They get away with that. And who's doing it? Hollywood.
Yep. They own our butt, and unfortunately they're able to imprint that crap on sheep all too easily. All too easily. I remember in high school it was said that by the time we graduated we see something like 8,000 murders depicted on television and in the movies. Can you imagine what it is now, Gerald? Hundreds of thousands.
Well, look at the video games.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Mass murder every minute.
That's right. It's all killing, all death. They're desensitizing everyone to everything. And then they'll medicate them and toxify them into zombieism. You're going to have walking zombies in this country who have no idea what morality is, what restraint is, accountability, responsibility, nothing.
Yeah, you could call them the Democrats and the Republicans and the administration. They're all walking zombies.
Yeah, well,
it's one freak show.
You just nailed Holder. Thank you for that. What a punk.
What a disgusting guy. You know, these guys, all they do is they send other people to go do their dirty work. If Eric has a problem with me, we could talk man to man.
Yeah, Eric, you're welcome on the program anytime. We'll have Gerald on with you.
Any one of them wanted man to man, we could talk. Leave your flunkies at home.
Amen, brother. Amen. Thank you, Gerald. As
all right,
always,
man.
We'll talk to you next month. You
all
take
the best.
care.
Bye.
Okay. Oh, is he right? He is so right. I'm sure most of you are in complete agreement. Back in a minute.